So, I love the sayings, two-tier Kier or Kier Sarlin. I think it's brilliant. But this is the acceleration that, to be honest, I wanted, because it was the only way it was going to get people's attention. And it's doing just that. The amount of people I've seen on places like Facebook or whatever saying, are you ready to stand up for what you believe in? And that, I'm wording it carefully, all right? Now, he said that he's going to go after people who go out and violently cause damage and loot and stuff like this, and anybody who online agitates it. I can see why, okay. The thing is, right, I was looking at protests in the past. Now, whether you liked people like, not Malcolm X, who was the other one? I have a dream, you know, Martin Luther King. Now, apparently, he was a commie, right? Apparently. But he got one thing right, that when they all walked around and protested together orderly and peacefully, when the police waded in, you couldn't help but notice it was all the police, all right? And they got their point across and they got moral support. Now, there may have been something going on behind the scenes that helped them get more and more support. I don't know. What I do know is it's the optics. Now, I get the fact that people are more than fucking angry, right? That all the things that have happened in this country over the last amount of years and the police haven't done anything about it. The system has only helped prop it up. And what they're going after now is the secondary problem. The secondary problem now is the reaction to what's happened already. Now, they have no intention of fixing the primary problem, which is mass immigration, a culture that's incompatible with ours, and numerous people that have come in from the third world that are undocumented and they're criminal, and they're just not, they're not compatible with it, right? That's the facts of it. Now, that's not to be confused with the people that are already here, that moved over here years ago, that have integrated, got on, and that, you know, they love the place and they've made a life for themselves here. There's a very big difference between that. And you've seen this thing ramped up, and people won't get it or won't understand. But your government doesn't serve you. That idea, I don't know why it's been lost, but it has. The whole idea of the government governing the people, by the people, for the people, and all that kind of shit, that's gone. And you might notice that I've got an incredibly squeaky seat here, and yes, it's doing my testing too. Anyway, back to the story. So, who do they serve? Well, there have been agreements and pacts and stuff that have been signed years and years ago that were going to put Islam first. Why? Financial reasons, sale of oils, the control of this, that, and the other, and many other reasons. But that's what's been done, all right? So these people don't serve their own kind. You're not their kind anyway. You've got to understand that Kier Starmer doesn't relate to you in the same way that, say, for instance, you might relate to your other working class blue-collar people, or if you're a white-collar person. He is part of an elite group, all right? Now, these are the people that will cover up for each other, as indeed he has in the past, right? Don't forget the connections that he had with Savile. But let's move forward. This is a guy that took the country to court over immigration, all right? He is what you would call a globalist. He isn't for the country or the people. He is for making sure that he has power, that he has lots of money, and that he's part of an elite group. Now, that group are confused to think they're actually part of the 1%. They're not, all right? The 1% wouldn't have anything to do with them. The 1% see these people as useful idiots, and they are. The likes of Tony Blair, the likes of the Bush dynasty and stuff. And you might think to yourself, well, these people have got like 150 million in the bank or more. They may well have, but that doesn't give them access to the club. Nowhere near it. I mean, 2 billion, you'd think that was a huge sum of cash. I mean, to me, it's an unfathomable amount of money, because I'm literally, I live week to week. But to the 1%, 2 billion is but a drop in the ocean. I mean, they deal with trillions. But what they do is they fund, right, and back useful fucking idiots all over the world, by the way, because I don't know if you've noticed, but the whole world's going up at the moment. And they do this because they have a design that has to be followed, a plan that has to be followed, and these useful idiots will sell their own out, will be traitors to their own country, and will do exactly what the bidding is that is asked of them. So when you see them enacting rules and stuff like this that is not in our interest, and you scratching your head and you're wondering why, well, these people sold out to these people years ago. All right, they're owned, they're controlled. You can't have honest, decent people in government. Well, it'd be lovely, but you can't have that. When I say you can't, they can't, because these people might end up doing the right thing, and then, well, that would be a problem, wouldn't it? So going forward, as I predicted many years ago, right, I predicted most of this, but it was kind of obvious. All right, you know, it's not as if I have a crystal ball. What I do is I look at things that have gone on in history, because history repeats itself, and you look at the signs that we're showing now, and you know roughly the direction we're going to go in, give or take. So we will end up with, they will achieve their 15-minute cities if we're not careful, purely by us coming out and protesting. Now, it's been said that on some of these rallies that people have popped out of vans after talking to the opposition and then gone ahead and caused trouble. These are paid agitators. They are there to purely stir up something. Not that there's a lot of help needed in many cases, right? But they're there. I've seen them on the Tommy marches. I've seen them on other things. And they're there purely just to stir up the trouble, get it going, so that the cameras can take their pictures and the narrative can be pushed. It's what it is. And what you'll see is Antifa and Hate Not Hope. Yeah, I got that right. You'll see them out, and what will happen is the police will walk steady in front of them, bringing them in. All right? Not like you'll see them deal with just quiet protesters, let alone the ones that have started kicking off. And you'll also see them usually sort of taking the knee to Islam, whatever that brings out. But what you'll see is them going very, very heavy with us. All right, so be aware of this. If you're going to a protest, do not go there to loot. Do not go there to commit acts of violence. Do not go there to commit crime, because you're actually making the situation worse for what we're trying to achieve. Fucking spy in the cab telling me what to do. I don't understand, and I never have, why, say for instance, BLM or black rioters or white rioters will actually destroy the community they live in, loot the buildings, right, of hard-earned, of shopkeepers or whatever, and just make it an absolute war zone where they live. I never did get that. I mean, you can get your point across without setting fire to a bus or a shop. You can do this. You don't have to set fire to buildings, be them police stations or mosques or anything, because it does not fucking help, all right? I don't like the police, not at all. And I'm not a great fan of fucking Islam, but I'm also not a great fan of giving the opposition any fucking fuel they need. Now, over in Ireland, they're further advanced than we are. They've got more problems over there than we have at the moment, but that's at the moment, right? And I always said, and I've been saying for fucking ages on here, that the loyalists, right, and the provisionals, or the people that used to support them, I'll say, right, have been coming together, because they realise that they're going to have to put their differences aside, because the problem they face is biblical. Okay, we are being invaded by a group from a cult that doesn't like us, right? And they don't like Christianity either. And you're actually seeing now out in the streets of Northern Ireland the tricolour next to the Union Jack and them embracing each other. So this policy of mass immigration, this government that has no idea what the people want, or it just doesn't care, and I would go with the second actually, right, is actually managing to achieve something, okay, that 40 years of the army over there couldn't achieve. All right, and that's no disrespect to the army, none at all. They did a fine job, but these people have come together because they understand that the situation they face is far more dangerous. So that's a plus. And I actually think that you're going to get in the end, you're going to get left and right and stuff all come together, because in the end, it'll be blatantly obvious, all right? And you'll actually manage to unite people and bring about solidarity and stuff by what they've achieved. And this is the thing. The 1%ers, the powers that be and all the rest of it, they have these plans. But because most of them are the most soulless creatures going, and they seriously are only interested in what they can financially gain out of something, they don't have any great love for humans, they don't have any great love for any particular country, they'll move to wherever it suits them best, kind of thing. So they can't really get into the heads of the little people, the poor people. You know, they think that when they've taken everything away from them, they'll just beg for something. No, it doesn't work like that. Not all the time, right? What you'll end up in, it's when you see an emergency and you see some of the characters come together, which usually under normal circumstances, not bother with each other. And this is what they're going to create. And this will create a unity that you wouldn't believe. And those on the outside of that unity would either be deranged, of a different ideology that has no place in the civilized world, right? And also that it will make it very clear what it wants to do. And so people will either be a part of that or they won't be. So the system will achieve what, I don't know, we've wanted, I suppose, for a long time in some ways. In other ways, it won't be good. Now, in the meantime, we're going to see lots of youth go out and kick off for the sake of kicking off. These are little fuckers that would just kick off. And they're just, it's not high spirit, it's nothing like that, it's worse, much, much worse. They'll do criminal damage, they'll burn shit. Why? Because they're fucking feral, all right? And they'll do it under the auspices that they're aggrieved because of something. They're just whackers, all right? Real men don't smash up their own community, all right? Real men just, they use their fucking head. Anyway, moving on, we're going to have a lot of violence throughout the rest of this summer, all right? Especially during the holidays, believe it or not. And it'll usually be, do you know what? Everybody use Northern Ireland. The trouble always used to happen in the afternoon. And a lot of times if it was raining, you wouldn't get it. And there was other things, but I can't talk about that on here. But talking about getting armed or tooled up and stuff like that, absolutely bonkers. Ridiculous talk, don't. However, what has been seen is people of that certain cult who are tooled up, who are stopping and checking cars. And that reminds me again of yet Northern Ireland, because Northern Ireland had the Provos, and what were they? Well, you've got the political wing, which was Sinn Féin, and you had the armed terrorist wing, which was the provisional IRA. One man's freedom fighters, another man's terrorists and all that. Islam has both its political side, its religious side, and obviously now by the look of it, if they're armed and if they're going into these places and then coming out tooled up, that's not looking good, but it backs up what we've been saying, okay? But yeah, if they're managing to stop check people in cars and they're all tooled up, then this is just exactly the same as happened on the streets of Belfast and Londonderry and whatever during the late 60s, early 70s, all right? And if that is the case, then we're a lot further into it than I thought. But nothing surprises me. Anyway, you must keep an eye on that, okay? And if you see it, report it. Not that it'll make a lot of difference, but you do your bit, all right? But just be aware that what's coming is not good, but nobody wants it. Make that clear. Nobody in their right fucking mind wants violence, wants lawlessness, because everybody suffers, right? Especially the young, the weak, the old. They suffer a lot under this. There'll be a lot of innocent people that are going to suffer on all sides. So, I can't tell you what to do. I can only say that if you were organised about what you're doing and not just rioting, it'd look better. But to say that all the people that come out and protest are far right, that's laughable. What far right is now? Far right is purely people who have honest, decent values, who are traditionalists, right? Who don't like what the country's become, who don't like the way it's being run, and don't like the fact that they don't feel safe anymore on their streets, so that their kids aren't safe. That's what being far right is, apparently, according to the powers that be. They're absolute fucking joke. Apparently, unless you want to literally flood this country with Islam and its followers, and that you want a lawless, crimeless place where you can't go out safely, and the ruling people aren't the indigenous people of the country, if you want that, you're alright. But if you don't want that, for some stupid reason, then you're far right. Anyway, I'm going to get off because you probably won't be able to hear it because of the wind noise. I'll see you in a bit.